Mangwana Nimalelepo Vukenjani Class Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's important stories. On today's show, Cameroon's Issa Bakary declares victory and urges President Biya to accept defeat after over 4 decades in power. Nigerian university lecturers launch a 2-week strike over pay disputes, while the UN reports ongoing ceasefire violations between the DRC and Rwanda. We explore Rwanda's ambitious expansion into Africa's trillion-dollar service market and Zimbabwe's booming crocodile farming exports. Also, in Madagascar, the military has officially taken over. The coup is complete. President Rajoelina is not in the country, and that is going to be our first update. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1am2.com, NTV Afrika on YouTube. See you on the other side of the break.
Life is unpredictable, and one needs to be protected against any eventuality. Get Santam legal access from as little as $50 Namibian a month for when you find yourself in need of legal representation due to civil cases, criminal prosecution, and family matters such as divorce, child maintenance, and custody. It also covers labor disputes, disciplinary hearings, and unfair dismissal or retrenchment. With Santam Legal Access, you'll receive free legal advice on almost every legal aspect, whether the specific matter is covered by your policy or not. For true peace of mind and legal protection when you need it most, call us on 061 292 8000. Santam. This is freedom.
Get ready to stay connected with ShopRite's big daily data competition. Buy any 2 items on promotion at ShopRite, then send your till slip to the ShopRite WhatsApp number, and you could be one of 60 daily winners of $65 data. The competition runs from 13 to 19 October, and winners are announced the following day. ShopRite, bigger savings, bigger rewards. Hashtag 65data. As promised, we're going to start off in Madagascar with a major development. The military, led by Colonel Michael Randrianirina, announced it had seized power and dissolved key state institutions following weeks of Gen Z-led protests over corruption and poverty. President Rajoelina fled the country aboard a French military aircraft after Parliament voted overwhelmingly to impeach him for dissolving the National Assembly. From hiding, Rajoelina rejected calls to resign, saying he acted to restore order. The Constitutional Court has since invited Randrianirina to serve as interim president and hold elections within 60 days, though uncertainty and sporadic unrest continue to grip the island nation. Moving on. Cameroon opposition candidate Issa Bakary has declared victory in the October 12th presidential election, calling on President Biya to respect the truth of the ballot box, quote-unquote. Speaking from Garoua, Tchiroma, 76, said the people's choice was clear and should be honored. He broke away from Biya earlier this year, running a campaign supported by opposition parties and civic groups. Biya, 92, who has ruled for 43 years and is seeking an 8th term, was expected to benefit from control over state institutions and divided opposition. Tchiroma thanked voters who stayed late at polling stations to safeguard ballots and acknowledged rival candidates who congratulated him. He warned that rejecting the people's choice could plunge the country into turmoil. The government has not officially responded, though the Interior Minister had warned that declaring results independently would constitute high treason. Only the Constitutional Council, which has until October 26 to announce final results, holds that authority. Tchiroma said he would soon release vote tallies by region and urged security forces to remain loyal to the republic and not the regime. Public university lecturers in Nigeria have embarked on a 2-week strike demanding better pay and increased funding. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU President Professor Chris Piuna described the action as unavoidable, citing long-standing government failures. The strike began shortly after universities resumed for a new academic year. The government appealed to lecturers to return to work, emphasizing dialogue as the best solution while invoking the no work, no pay rule. Officials said they had made a comprehensive offer addressing welfare, institutional governance, and working conditions and were awaiting ASUU's response. The union's conflict with successive governments dates back to the 1980s, with key agreements in 92, 2009, and 2013 often unfulfilled. The last major strike in 2022 lasted 8 months before being halted by a court order. Observers note that recurring disputes highlight chronic underfunding and mistrust within the higher education system, which continues to disrupt millions of students nationwide in Nigeria. The United Nations says the ceasefire agreement between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is not being respected. UN Special Envoy Huang Xia commended ongoing peace efforts, but noted that they have not yet produced tangible results. He urged regional leaders to resume direct dialogue and take decisive measures to end the prolonged conflict. The DRC's representative to the UN, Zenon Gay Mukongo, reiterated that genuine peace requires withdrawal of Rwandan troops, an end to their alleged support for the M23 rebel group, and restoration of state authority in all occupied territories. There is, however, an update with regards to that conflict. The African Union yesterday commended a new agreement which seems to have been finalized between DRC and Rwanda with the oversight of Qatar. And currently it seems like this new deal is what the African Union is hoping finally ends this conflict. Rwanda, positively, is intensifying efforts to grow its service exports under the African Continental Free Trade Area, aiming to position itself as a hub for digital trade and professional services. Trade Minister Prudence Sebahizi said the government's new policy prioritizes service exports as a key driver of inclusive growth. A market study in Djibouti is identifying opportunities for Rwandan ICT, logistics, and professional firms. Tourism remains the country's leading service earner, generating $579.5 million last year. Experts highlight Rwanda's strengths in education, healthcare, logistics, and finance, noting institutions like Carnegie Mellon University Africa attract remains limited. With only a fraction of EAC market protocols implemented, business leaders warn that protectionism undermines competitiveness, urging young professionals to embrace cross-border digital opportunities. Some Rwandan companies, including TimTom Aviation and Tarzan of Transport Rwanda, are already exporting services regionally. Officials say stronger financing and skills development will help Rwanda expand its continental footprint and strengthen its position in Africa's $4 trillion services economy. Zimbabwe's crocodile farming sector has seen export revenues rise to $36 million annually, up from $32 million over the past 2 years. Deputy Minister Davis Marapira said production has reached 80,000 skins per year, driven by improved quality and increased global demand. The industry aims to grow into a $100 million enterprise through better market access and global competitiveness. Crocodile skins are mainly exported to France, Singapore, Japan, and Italy, while meat is sold domestically and in Asian and European markets. Government efforts to promote value addition and support farmers are boosting the sector's growth. Zimbabwe leads the world in Nile crocodile skin exports, accounting for about 45% of the global Niloctus market. Officials and private stakeholders are collaborating to enhance farm capacity and solidify Zimbabwe's presence in the lucrative exotic leather trade, which plays a crucial role in agriculture, wildlife management, and rural employment. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we'll be looking at the Newsweek stories thus far in Namibia, the ones which have really drawn our eyes. But prior to that, let's have a look at the weather. Getting into the midweek news stories from Namibia. NamPower welcomed the arrival of its first shipment of batteries and power conversion systems containers for the 51 megawatt and 51 megawatt Umburu battery energy storage system project. The Umburu BESS project is being implemented at the Umburu substation near Omaruru and will enable NamPower to cost-effectively manage the energy demand and supply by performing energy arbitrage and displacing expensive emergency energy. It will also provide various grid stability services, enabling the grid to integrate additional intermittent renewable energy generation capacities whilst ensuring security of supply. The project is currently in the design and construction phase, with the commercial operation date planned for second quarter of next year. Eliefas Iliende, NamPower engineer, Generation Projects, shares more.
The Umburu BESS project is Namibia's first utility battery project. It's a pioneer in the energy storage. It is designed for 51 megawatt hour. That means 1 hour storage of battery. Okay, for this first shipment, today really marks the auspicious moment where we are welcoming and accepting the arrival of the first shipment. The first shipment is made up of 8 power conversion system units. And then we are then expecting 1 more power conversion system unit and 36 battery containers, which makes up a total of 9 PCS containers and 36 battery containers. NamPower is really just hereby announcing that to the entire Namibian nation and all its esteemed stakeholders in this pioneering project, that the first shipment of the Umburu BESS project, which is a pioneering project in energy storage in Namibia, has arrived, and would really just like all to rejoice the moment. I thank you.
The Namibia Vindo Correctional Service received a check of $1 million from the Namibia Training Authority. Speaking at the handover ceremony, Commissioner General Rafael Tuhafeni Hamunyela said the partnership marks a major step in rehabilitating inmates, noting that 79% of offenders commit crimes due to low education and unemployment. He added that the service has received provisional accreditation for trades such as welding, joinery, horticulture, and clothing production to equip inmates with recognized skills for reintegration into society. This video is courtesy of Chris Kaukelma.
Focused on rehabilitation and rehabilitation by systematically assessing offenders' risks and needs. Through implementation of this strategy, we were able to identify that approximately 79% of inmates commit offenses primarily due to low educational attainment or a lack of employment opportunities. To address this identified need, we have established vocational training programs aimed at equipping inmates with technical and vocational skills. Until recently, however, the trades offered were not formally accredited, limiting both recognition of the skills gained and their competitiveness in the job market. I am pleased to report that the Namibian Correctional Service has now received provisional accreditation for several key trades, namely welding and metal fabrication, joinery and cabinet making, horticulture and crop production, and clothing production.
Deputy Chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Education, Youth, Civic Relations and Community Development, Austin Samupwa, said during the committee's visit to Kavango East that the government is constructing a new school near Ndiona Secondary School to ease overcrowding. He noted that the school currently accommodates over 1,000 learners, of which more than 300 are expected to be transferred to the nearby Ndiona Project School. Samupwa, however, expressed concern that only 4 classrooms are being built, urging authorities to expand the project to ensure effective learning. Philippus Joseph reports.
At Ndiona Secondary School, grade 6, these learners are about 65 in one class. Having come from the Ndiona Project School, where we were just now, which school government of the Republic of Namibia is building in order to decongest this school here. This is a typical class here, which has necessitated that GRN must build another school that side of the road, so that about 350 learners must move from here to that school. But what we learned there is that only 4 classrooms are being constructed against the 350 learners who must move to that school. Meaning, Parliament is calling upon all of us to ensure that as the learners move there, we have built extra classrooms as well, so that we decongest this school, because it is completely full to the capacity and there is no space in this school. And in these circumstances, education does not take place as is desired by the parents and the government. So this is the scenario, and it is not healthy. Thank you very much.
All right, we are going to dive straight into our economic news stories. Kaushik Berman, CEO of Spiro, has taken on the challenge of transforming Africa's mobility landscape with electric bikes, securing over $150 million in funding to expand operations across the continent. Berman, with decades of experience at Shell and Gogoro, emphasizes technology that works on the ground, impacting lives, creating jobs, and supporting local economies. With more than 40,000 motorbikes and 800 battery swapping stations, Spiro has logged 500 million CO2-free kilometers. The company continues to expand in Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, Togo, Benin, and Nigeria with long-term goals to scale local manufacturing. The Bill Gates Foundation is taking steps to improve access to weight loss drugs like Novo Nordisk's Wegovy and Eli Lilly's Mounjaro in low and middle income countries, including African nations. With obesity affecting approximately 1 billion people globally, the 70% of sufferers living in lower income regions, treatment accessibility remains limited. The foundation may support clinical trials to test efficacy and affordability across diverse populations, ensuring broader reach. Patent expirations for key active ingredients such as semaglutide will allow generic manufacturers to produce cheaper alternatives, improving affordability in developing markets. Experts highlight that wider availability of obesity drugs could reduce diabetes, heart disease, and healthcare costs across Africa. By expanding into chronic disease treatment, the foundation is extending its mission beyond infectious diseases to address emerging global health challenges, making effective therapies accessible for all. Those have been our economic news stories. Let's have a look at the indicators before we swing back with the sport delivered by Mike Sichula. In sport news, Bafana successfully qualified for the FIFA World Cup after defeating Benin 3-0. We wish them all the best. However, the Zambian government has pulled all funding from Chipolopolo, the Zambia men's football team, after a string of disappointing results. Mike Sichula reports from Lusaka.
Thank you very much for having me, and Africa, good morning to our dear viewers. The background to this story is that in 2022, the Football Association of Zambia, led by Mr. Andrew Kamanga, who is now former Football Association of Zambia president, engaged Mr. Avram Grant on a 2-year contract. Before this engagement of Mr. Avram Grant, who also managed the Black Stars of Ghana, Zambia, that won the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations, had failed to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations 3 times. And because of this performance, there was heavy pressure from soccer fans as well as the Zambian government. They saw it unacceptable for Zambia not to be qualifying for the Africa Cup of Nations and to miss on 3 consecutive occasions. So because of this pressure, the Football Association of Zambia then signed a 2-year contract with Mr. Avram Grant, and there was a clause in this contract that said if Mr. Avram Grant manages to qualify the team to the 2024 Africa Cup of Nations as well as the 2026 Africa Cup of Nations, then his contract will be automatically renewed to 2027. And he did manage to qualify the team to the 2024 Africa Cup of Nations, and he has also managed to qualify the team to the 2026 Africa Cup of Nations. So when the new executive came in office, led by Mr. Keith Mwemba, it was not very easy for them to get rid of Mr. Grant, despite public pressure from soccer fans as well as the Zambian government. So when the team lost to Niger on Sunday at Ndola's Levi Manawasa Stadium, public pressure became so heavy that the Zambian government wrote to the National Sports Council of Zambia, informing them of the decision to suspend sponsorship to the senior national team until the Football Association of Zambia explains within 7 days what measures they have put in place to ensure that the senior national team that won the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations improve on their performance. So for the current Football Association of Zambia, it is very difficult to sack Avram Grant because he has a contract that runs up to 2027. One of the reasons why they cannot sack him is that before he came, the FA had engaged Asanovic, and because of 1 or 2 misunderstanding, he resigned from his position, and because of those disagreements, he went to FIFA, and FIFA charged Zambia to pay the former Chipolopolo coach Asanovic about $1 million United States dollars, funds which the FA is currently paying to the Serbian coach. So because of that issue, the FA cannot sack Mr. Avram Grant because they don't want to find themselves in the same trap as the previous Football Association of Zambia executive, where they are now paying Asanovic about $1 million United States dollars. So this is the current state of affairs. Now, this suspension by the Zambian government will likely affect Zambia's preparation for the next Africa Cup of Nations, because the Zambian government contributes about 10,000 United States dollars to meet the budget of 25,000 United States dollars as salaries to Avram Grant and his technical bench. So this is the current state of affairs as far as the Football Association of Zambia is concerned, and the Zambian government suspending funding to the FA. Thank you very much for having me. Africa, good morning to our dear viewers.
Africa, good morning. Indeed, Mike. That's been the broadcast on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, where if you click the echo icon, you can have a look at this episode again and other NTV programs, because on 1up2.com, Echo Primetime is anytime. My name is Ashwin Betty. We return tomorrow with news from South Africa and, of course, headlines from the rest of the continent. Swera Jakanaka.